All right, what's up, YouTube? We're going to be doing our stock market recap and our watch list for the night slash running into tomorrow. If you are new here, make sure to follow the channel and leave a thumbs up. We release videos about 30 minutes before every market close. That way you have chances to catch any curl up from any of the plays we're calling out leading into pre-market and after hours. But today we're going to be going over the general market. So today really started yesterday with Jerome Powell speaking. There was a lot of hesitation and fear as to what he was going to say, because it was going to kind of determine what's going to be happening for the next year or two. And it wasn't anything worse than people expected. It was bad, but it wasn't anything worse than people expected. So that caused a lot of people to kind of dump money back into the market after hours and even into pre-market. And during pre-market, people were still buying, but as market opened, that's when everything dropped off. Some people started selling, and then you just had a chain reaction of just people fear selling, really. And some bad news came out for a lot of stocks. Apple released that they're going to be kind of going and opening their own warehouse to make their own chips for their products, and pretty much not outsourcing anymore to different companies, which you see a lot of. That's typical of big companies. They tend to want to do things on their own, not be reliant on other places. But all the places that they currently get their stuff from started tanking. That was just one example, but there was a lot of bad news in some ways. Even a firm got hit, which just makes it cheaper, and I believe it's on sale. We're going to talk about that though. So essentially, it was a bit of a pump fake, not intentional. I think people just were still a bit hesitant. They realized it was bad news. It wasn't good news to where it kind of warranted a bunch of people buying back into the market. It was bad news, just not worse than what people expected. So they took advantage of that, kind of dumped money back in. A lot of things ran up this morning, but dumped today during market hours. We're going to be talking about some stocks now. This is our watch list. And ADGI, we talked about this one. And the reason was because it came off of a very high number here. So just this drop alone from 35 down to $5. This was off of the COVID news, I believe. They did some studies and realized that their product wasn't it didn't do as much to the new variant of COVID that they expected, which of course, since it's new, nobody really expects that of them. But that was kind of why this drop happened, and it happened very quickly. And even before that, they came off of highs, about 70, hitting highs there. Now this could have just been hype, but this is probably not where the company is valued at. It may be more around here. And then off of their new news, it came down here. Now this company obviously isn't giving up on their research or any adjustments they're going to make. So I believe that this one is severely overvalued, and it was sitting around $5. So your downside can't be more than $5 here. But we never knew how long it was going to stay down here. Well, today it actually came up, and it was one of the only runners. It started curling up at the open, and as everything else started falling, a lot of eyes came here. It got halted up a few times, and it really hasn't stopped volume. It looks like it came down here, but I can imagine during after hours it might keep running, just because it dropped from $40. So it's severely, I believe it's still undervalued. The price target got released at around $20, coming down from $40, but that was just based on how the stock is performing here, not necessarily on any of the numbers from the company. So especially if they correct whatever was going wrong with the new variant, I'm sure that their value would be seen again. And so this one's a bit oversold. And another stock that's similar to that, we're going to be going over AERC. So this one IPO'd not too long ago, and this one deals with airborne viruses. So COVID isn't an airborne virus, but when it first came out, it still got a bit hyped. It could have just been the market conditions where people kind of piled into a certain stock, but it IPO'd at $40, ran up to $80, and within the next few days hit highs of $120. Now, just for no reason really. It wasn't market valuation or the company's valuation or anything. So anybody kind of knew that it was going to come back down, but people made profits off this, and that's exactly what happened. When people took profits, everybody started taking profits, and within a day, it was getting halted down. There was no bottom, no momentum trying to bring it back up or hold anywhere up here, and it actually ended up finishing where it IPO'd. So it's sitting at $8 here. Now there's no catalyst or any reason why it would curl up, because this isn't necessarily COVID related. This is airborne viruses. So there's no real catalyst on why it would need to jump back up anywhere up here again. But this is a new IPO, so any news whatsoever might cause people to look at this chart and see that there's at least some range to play within here. Maybe at least back to the IPO point. So it could hover down here for a long time, but it is a very similar chart to ADGI. ADGI, however, is COVID related. They're working directly on it. So that's why this catalyst was a little bit better. But this is a very similar setup. So any new news that they're developing could potentially cause the same thing to happen. So if you're looking for oversold stocks and you're willing to wait, this one could be a good opportunity. This one's already taking off and still some room to run. A lot of range left still. So yeah, let's go on to the next one. BFRI, of course. So BFRI we've been talking about as well. It has a price target about $11. So pretty much playing the range in between there. On red days, it's hard for it to catch volume for really anything. There was not too many stocks getting halted or not too much kind of volume like that. But this company has a lot of things coming out early next year, so a lot of catalysts. So if you're holding this one, this is still a great one to hold because it's going to be making moves anywhere in between there. Plus their catalyst might make it hit that $11 price target. It's going to be helping it push it up and up and up. This one also has the short interest tied to it, so whenever it does gap up, it's going to move quick. And there's not very many shares available here. I believe it's about 3 million shares, which is a very small amount. So if people buy this up, it'll gap up and get halted and see that kind of action that we see with these smaller caps. Affirm, this is a buy now pay later. I mean, we love the stock here on the channel. We talk about it all the time. We were talking about it when it was 175. We're still talking about it when it's 92. It's had positive earnings. It's had increased price targets. And the only thing that's gone wrong with it so far is it had a private offering, which of course kind of looked like it makes the share size bigger that's available. So that's one thing that can make it valued a little bit less. But it had we had the bad market today, but it also had some news that they were probing into buy now and pay laters, and Affirm being the biggest buy now pay later. PayPal also took a similar hit, but there was no news that they're in any kind of legal trouble or whatsoever. And buy now pay laters are pretty much essential like credit cards. They even help you pay back your buy now pay laters even quicker with Affirm. So I believe it's even more like sustainable than other lines of credit. It's a better alternative in a way. And then Christmas season is coming up. I mean, we're already here, so it's very surprising that this is coming down. I would have never guessed it, but as a long-term play, this seems very undervalued. We could look at the 4-hour chart and see that. The last time it was here was about 2 earnings ago, and it looks like it was trading around $50. I personally really don't think it should be back anywhere near $50 since it's had so much revenue and actual numbers behind it since the last time it was here. I think it's severely undervalued right now, but because of the sell pressure, it's just hard for it to get any traction upward. Any of these could be fake outs. Like this here, you'd think that it might start curling back up. This is more likely because it is the end of the market. But as you can see, sometimes it fakes out and then people realize that was a fake out and everybody sells in more fear and it just keeps looping down this way. But I mean, you could see this as a free fall level because it hasn't been here down in a while. But I see this as a buying opportunity. I think it's very cheap. We have earnings coming up on February 9th. And this company specifically is very good in terms of earnings because if they did get last earnings, this company, their revenue is based on when people pay off their buy now pay laters. So if you have a 6-month buy now pay later, and you have a quarterly earnings, and you have a really good earnings the prior season, then those payments continue on to the next earnings. So the chances of it flip-flopping the next earnings is very, very low. On top of that, we have Christmas season, so holidays, shopping. We have exclusive partnership with Amazon. So this has a very positive catalyst in terms of their earnings. And if it's very oversold like this and then the good earnings hit, this thing is going to just jump right back to where it was trading before. And it's going to see that range as that's where it should probably jump back up to. So you're looking about from 90. I mean, even if you play it safe and call 150 because that private share offering, that's still about $60 range. That could be within months, but I mean, if you're in the stock market for the long term, I mean, that's what this is about anyways. You better take that opportunity than miss it altogether. I'd say $60 range is quite a bit, even if you're waiting a few months on it. But of course, take that as you will. But I think it's a good opportunity, and I think it might curl up here because I think people are going to realize, like, until they release actual information that they're in some kind of legal trouble, then there's no reason for this to be sold off. It's understandable why people sell off because they're scared. I mean, people selling off here probably just buy back in here at a better price and avoid this downside. But nobody's like giving up on the stock. It would be down way more. Roblox, similar situation. This one tried to come back up multiple times, but just couldn't hold. $90, I still think is very oversold for this. We've had a great earnings, and also during COVID pandemic times, more players flock to this. More people, you get new customers, new users playing the game, and their revenue has increased with their earnings. And they give a monthly guidance, and it went down a little bit, maybe about $3 million. I think it was $94 million and a projected $97 million. So it wasn't even down very much, but it tanked off that. So it's kind of testing this level again, but didn't really move past it. I think this is a bottom for a lot of stocks, and I think this today was kind of just a confirmation day. It failed, but I think tomorrow and even next week you're going to try again and get positive volume coming up. And a lot of these oversold stocks are going to see a lot of range to run from. So if you're not already invested in holding in these, this is a good buying opportunity to ride the wave back up. If you are invested in these, I mean, there's no need to take a loss because, I mean, there's still a lot of positive catalysts and value that's way higher than where they're selling at right now. Cvfi, this is the Rumble acquisition with DWAC. This one's running pretty well. I mean, it's popping every now and then. I mean, I think Trump has announced, or the Trump acquisition company has announced that they're going to partner with Rumble about 3 times now. I mean, we've seen 3 pops off of the same exact news. I think the very first one was this one, and then they confirmed it here. I'm not sure what this one was. It might have just been some momentum or just people wanting. I think DWAC went crazy on this one, and then this one followed it. And then here, I think they mentioned it again, but I feel like that's the same news as here. So just the fact that it's trading on the low, and actually held up pretty well if you think about it. I mean, it stayed up here. It's only down about $1 or $2 from the high. So, I mean, it's only a matter of time before it pops again. And then once more news starts coming off Rumble and things like that, it could potentially come up. I see this as a long-term play. I mean, social media, if you look at Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook, they're all very high. And if you're looking at a competitor that's changing something and you're looking for a market disruption, this could be good because Rumble is supposed to be less censorship, not in the terms of anything bad, but just not as restrictive as things like Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, where if you say a small word, you could potentially like get timed out for 24 hours, and it just gets annoying to certain people, or even seeing people who you follow complain about it. And so this is supposed to change all that. So just a market disruption in general is a good catalyst, and that's why DWAC went crazy when it first came out. Airbnb is trading at a low. Their price target got dropped down to, I think it was 175. I think the average price target on this is still 196. So another $50 range to play off of. Airbnb isn't going anytime soon, as far as like I can tell. Still good option. A lot of people who are looking for renting when house pricing goes up. A lot of people who don't want to put a down payment stay in Airbnbs. They'll take Airbnbs instead of getting an apartment and things like that as they're just moving around. And I see that as a positive catalyst for this, even during pandemic times. And then as pandemic times close, people want to go out, people want to travel, and Airbnb is where it's at. Their revenue increased like crazy. Their earnings was pretty good, and I don't see why this could be coming down. This is all fear selling, in my opinion. And BKKT, this one, not necessarily a value play, but just how oversold it is and its history of moving. It's just one to watch. It's sitting at a low. It's kind of bottom line isn't too much further. It might be holding around here, but it hit 20 the other day. I mean, its highs are 51. It was trading around $8 before that, hit 60. This was off of a DWAC play. This one kind of moves with DWAC, so kind of following Cvfi and DWAC. Whenever those two move, this one tends to follow closely behind as a sympathy. That's going to be it for the watch list. If you have any stocks you're watching, put them down below. Any opinions on the stock we mentioned, put them down below. Just remember that these things do happen. If you look at any stock, there's ups and downs. So just make sure that you trade with something that you can manage to hold if it does fall on a downside. Be careful with your averaging down, be careful with your averaging up. Just kind of manage your risk, especially at a time like this where everything's volatile. Even stocks that have crazy good value are coming down $40 or $50. So just know that you're not alone. You're not a bad trader. You're not a great trader. You're just kind of in between, and we're just trying to find the right waves to ride. So very interesting times in the market, but if you look at these things the right way, you're going to learn a lot. And I know certainly I'm learning a lot just by watching. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. If you liked the video, leave a thumbs up. I greatly appreciate it, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.